Hey there, folks, and welcome out to the Single Player Podcast. I'm your one and only host, I'm16, and I got a good show for you this week because we're going to be talking about Sony at CES 2023, Limited Run Games fires their community manager, Kotaku has a bitch fit over MAGFest, and more. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and I'll be with you in a bit. Alright folks, we're back, and now it's time to start the show with my favorite segment, your favorite segment, everyone in the world's favorite segment. It's time for the gaming forecast. So let's see what's coming out in the week of January 15th to the 21st. Alright, on January 18th, you have just one game coming out, Gray's Counter GM for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. Then on the 19th, you have 3 games coming out. A Space for the Unbound for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. Persona 3 Portable for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. And Persona 4 Golden for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. Then on the 20th, you have just 2 games coming out. Fire Emblem Engage for Nintendo Switch, and Monster Hunter Rise for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. And that was your gaming forecast. Some interesting stuff there. I'm definitely looking forward to Fire Emblem Engage, because here's the thing, I'm not the biggest fan of Fire Emblem, but you know what? I'm like, okay, I might as well go check this one out. I haven't played Three Houses yet. I should go back and actually go and play it. And what's interesting is that there's 2 Persona games coming out, and yet I have never played a single game in the entire series. Never. Just for whatever reason, it never really interested me. Which is funny because I actually do own Persona 3 FES for PS2. I just never got around to actually playing the friggin' game. So, anyway, if there's anything here that catches your interest, please let me know down below. Remember, if you like any of the music that will be played in this week's episode, links are in the description. And with that being said, let's move on to our first story. Alright, and first up, we got to talk about the Consumer Electronics Show. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, which as of this recording is still going on, but by the time you'll get to it, it's long over. But Sony, of course, was there, and they held a press conference. Now, most of it wasn't PlayStation focused, but they did have a section where they talked about it a bit. And Jim Ryan took the stage and talked about how PlayStation's doing. And he announced that the PlayStation 5 has already hit 30 million units sold. That December 2021 was their best month in sales for the entire console's lifespan. And that they expect console availability to be much higher this year than since launch. So there is some good news there if you were looking forward to a PS5, because here's the thing, okay? I have never seen a PS5 in the wild. I've gone to numerous stores since launch, and not once have I ever seen a PS5 on their store shelves. In fact, I've never seen an Xbox Series X on store shelves. The only console I've ever seen is an Xbox Series S. And let's be honest here, nobody wants to get that, okay? I'm pretty sure no one wants a digital-only console, because what's the point of getting one if you can't buy a game alongside the console itself? Here's the thing, though. While I think it's great that they figured out all the shipping and production issues they've had over, the last 2 years, the problem, however, is how will the price hike outside the United States actually affect the sales? Because, once again, they hiked the price by about $50. I'm not sure if people are going to be willing to pay that extra amount just for a PS5. Of course, that wasn't all. They also announced that both Beat Saber and Gran Turismo 7 will be coming to PlayStation VR 2. In fact, Gran Turismo 7 owners will be able to upgrade to the new version completely for free. As for Beat Saber, there's no official announcement as to when that's actually going to come out. Of course, we also got our first look at Sony's accessibility controller called Project Leonardo, and it's very interesting. So essentially, it looks like a disc with all of these customizable buttons and such. So you have like ones for L2, R1, circle, triangle, all kind of stuff that could be constantly interchanged and swapped out. And it's got a joystick kind of sticking out the side of it. And the best way I can describe it is it looks like a UFO. You know, it looks like I posted a joke where it was the I Want to Believe poster from the X-Files because it looks like a UFO. But it's interesting. Here's the thing, okay? I like the idea of accessibility controllers. When Microsoft did it, I thought that was fantastic. And I definitely feel the same way about this. I think it's great that they're doing an accessibility controller. It looks odd to me, but that's just me. You know what I mean? So who knows? I'm guessing they worked with a whole bunch of charities to design this sort of thing. So I'm guessing they really kind of put it through its paces and worked with various disabled gamers to really kind of nail that design. Now it's going to come out later this month for $199 US. And lastly, they shared with us a sneak peek at the Gran Turismo movie, which of course will be coming out on August 11th, and is surprisingly directed by Neil Blomkamp. Now, from when they first revealed this, a lot of people seem to be confused because people seem to think that it's an adaptation of the games. And you had a lot of people saying, well, wait a minute, how do you adapt the games when they don't have a story? Well, it's not based on the games. In fact, it's based on the true story of Jan Mardenborough, who is the youngest winner of GT Academy. Now, for those who don't know what it is, it's a TV show that's, I think, done around the world, where and it's a collaboration with Sony and Nissan, where they take Gran Turismo players competing against each other to actually become a professional race car driver. And it's been ongoing since about 2008. And this is the story of Jan Mardenborough, who is the youngest winner of the entire program. And his story into becoming a professional race car driver. So I find that fascinating that instead of just coming up with some made-up story around Gran Turismo, they're actually basing it on a real-life event. And you know what? I'm actually looking forward to it. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but it caught my interest. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And with that being said, let's move on to our next story. Okay, next up, we got to talk about the FTC Microsoft lawsuit because it appears there's been an update to Microsoft's response to the FTC. That's right. Apparently, they've updated their... As you guys probably remember, last week I talked about how Microsoft had responded to the FTC and outright accused them of violating the Constitution. Well, it appears that that response has actually been updated to remove all mentions of Constitution violations. Yeah, now this was of course reported by Axios, and Microsoft actually sent them a response saying, and I quote, "The FTC has an important mission to protect competition and consumers, and we quickly updated our response to omit language suggesting otherwise based on the Constitution." A Microsoft Public Affairs spokesperson, David Cudley, tells Axios, "We initially put all potential arguments on the table internally and should have dropped these defenses before we filed. We appreciated feedback about these defenses and are engaging directly with those who express concerns to make our position clear." So, yeah, my guess is that basically bit off more than they could chew. They thought they could outright accuse the FTC of violating the Constitution. And by the way, not that there's anything wrong with pointing out when the government is violating the Constitution, but I guess they realized that it wasn't going to work, and so they just backed off of it. Remember, folks, this isn't the first time Microsoft and the government have gone head-to-head, okay? there over like the last 22 years, there have been a total of 3 lawsuits between Microsoft and the United States. So this happens all the friggin' time, and I guarantee you it's going to end with some sort of settlement, or it's just going to get dropped, because that usually is what happens. But until then, we're just going to have to wait until August when this goes through to the courts. And with that being said, I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
Billy's on the TV! Billy's on the TV! Billy? On the TV? Billy's on the TV! Billy's on the TV! Billy on the TV? Billy's on the TV! Billy's on the TV! TV! See? Billy's got a TV show! My boy's on a TV.
iToy, rated E for everyone.
Alright folks, we're back, and first up on our next round of stories, we gotta talk about limited run games. Oh boy, yeah, you guys know what I'm gonna be talking about here. So for those who don't know, recently, Limited Run Games fired their community manager, Carolyn, over her past tweets. Now, the thing is, it wasn't like they personally went through her tweets. In fact, it was because of another Twitter user by the name of Purple Tinker, or at least the full name here is Purple Tinker Hates Elon, or was, because their account does not exist anymore. After this, you'll know why. Where they put out a whole thread saying, and I quote, "The community manager for Limited Run Games at Carolyn0326, which is, by the way, that account is currently protected, is a transphobe who follows a veritable who's who of right-wing transphobic creeps. Unless and until she is fired from the company permanently, I am not giving them another single dime." And it just goes on and on, going through this person's tweet history. Some of these tweets going as far back as 6 years ago. Yeah. And of course, instead of just ignoring this terminally online weirdo, what did Limited Run do? They fired her. Yes, they outright fired this person, their community manager, over 6-year-old tweets. They said, and I quote, "LRG respects all personal opinions. However, we remain committed to supporting an inclusive culture. Upon investigating a situation, an employee was terminated. Our goal as a company is to continue to foster a positive and safe environment for everyone." Really? You respect all personal opinions? Except for the ones you disagree with. That's the thing that always gets me. Whenever they're like, "Oh, we respect all personal opinions." If you did, you wouldn't have fired someone over theirs. You know what? Look, now, full disclosure here, okay? I'm not entirely anti-limited run games. Sometimes they do some pretty good stuff, and I have ordered from them in the past, and I have a couple of games that are on pre-order, but I'm only saying this because I just want to just completely disclose that before I discuss any further, because some people do that. They talk about a subject and they don't tell anyone that they are financially supporting them in some way, so I just want to put that out there. Yes, I have financially supported limited run games in the past, and I still have a couple of games that are on pre-order. But with that being said, here's the thing. Even though I like some of the products that Limited Run puts out, that doesn't mean I agree with everything they do, and that doesn't mean I'm going to agree with them on this. I think that this is fucking retarded, okay? Just because one terminally online weirdo has a problem with your employee does not mean you do what that person says and fire said employee. That to me is completely fucking stupid, okay? Especially for opinions that this person doesn't like. Here's the thing, okay? When you do that, when you, like there's a weird belief that I think a lot of these companies have where they think that they have to do something. They immediately have to rush in and fix the situation. No, you don't. Honestly, sometimes the best thing to do is to tell these people to fuck off and just leave it at that, okay? If this person continues harassing you on Twitter about it, just block them. That's all you have to do. That's what the block button is there for. Okay, just go to the 3 lines, hit block. It's simple as that. And yet, they can't even. Yeah, a lot of these companies won't do that. If you have a problem with one of their employees' opinions, they're going to immediately fire that employee. It is so stupid. You are giving this person power that they do not have. Okay, it's so fucking stupid. And honestly, I don't think anyone should be fired for their political opinions, regardless of how much I may disagree with said opinions. Okay, people should be fired based on their how they are at their job, not based on their political opinions. That is just so goddamn stupid. Okay, because when you do that, you basically open a can of worms and you make it acceptable for people you may politically agree with to get fired from their opinions, for their opinions. Okay, that means if, for example, I'm more right-leaning. If I have a company and one of my employees is left-leaning, well, guess what? You've just set a precedent where I could just fire my left-leaning employees because I don't like their political opinions. It's fucking stupid, okay? Because also, again, there's this weird belief where if you fire someone, not only are you making your company safe, which you're not, what you're doing is you're opening yourself up for a purity spiral in which suddenly even the most left-leaning employees will start being ridiculed and being told that they have to go because they're not left enough. But also, the person you just fired their opinions aren't going to change. There's this weird belief where if you fire or get someone deplatformed, well, banning them or firing them. It's just like being put in the corner. They're going to think about what they're doing and they're going to become a better person. No, they're not. That's not how this works. This isn't fucking elementary school, okay? When you fire someone or get them deplatformed for their politics, they're not going to think twice about their opinions. They're going to double down on said opinions, okay? So if you think that this person is going to suddenly think about their opinions and realize that it's not the true way, okay? You are fucking delusional. You are retarded. You might as well wear a helmet and take the short bus every day because you are a drooling retard. Like, you have to be that level of stupid to actually think that, okay? I swear to God, it's so fucking tiring. It really is. You know, I remember when the industry used to have balls. When you had people like this who didn't like someone's opinion, so they try to get them fired, people in the industry would just look at you and say, fuck off. Okay? That's how it used to be. Nowadays, however, if you have a problem with an employee's political opinions, not only will they fire said person, but then they'll praise you and say, is everything all right? Do you need a foot massage? Do you want some hot cocoa? That sort of bullshit. It's you know what? At this point, I want the industry to crash. Because if this is how they're going to treat their own employees, if they're going to fire them because of one terminally online weirdo had a problem with them, then you know what? You deserve to crash. Your company deserves to fall apart. Ooh, boy. You know what? Let's cool off a bit and let's move on to the next story. All right, and next up, we have some major retro gaming news because it appears we have another leak of the build engine, and this time it's not Duke Nukem, it's Blood. That's right, the original source code for Blood has been leaked. The infamous leaker, of course, is XOR Jump, who has, it was a 4chan poster who's been putting out all sorts of source codes for various build engine and Duke Nukem games. So, for example, he put out the original build of Duke Nukem Forever from 2001 and 1996. So, yeah, the dude is awesome when it comes to this stuff. And the fact that he leaked something of Blood is awesome. Now, if you've never heard of Blood, it is one of the build engine games. In fact, it's part of a trilogy. So, you have 3 games. You got Duke Nukem 3D, Shadow Warrior, and Blood. And they're all parodies of various movies. So Duke Nukem is a parody of action movies, Shadow Warrior is a parody of Kung Fu Ninja movies, and then you have Blood, which is a parody of horror. Now, previously, the source code has never actually been leaked, or in some ways there are source ports, but it's usually based around other stuff. So, for example, the alpha code for Blood was leaked a while ago, and as well as fans have reverse engineered the original game, and they've also made source ports based on other build engine games, such as Duke 3D and Shadow Warrior. But no one has ever been able to get the original source code until now, and I'm hoping that means we actually get a lot of really good source ports out of this. I mean, there already are really good source ports, but I mean something that's actually based on the original source code for Blood. Not something that's based on Duke 3D or Shadow Warrior or an alpha code. So this, I think, is absolutely awesome. I'm going to leave a link to his reentry.org page because it has he also has the Forever 2001 and the other Duke Nukem games on there. So if you're interested, definitely go check it out. And with that being said, let's move on to our next story. Alright, and next up, we got to talk about Silent Hill 2. So recently, Dread XP sat down with the Chief Marketing Officer of Bloober Team, Anna Jasinxa, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, about some of Bloober's upcoming titles, including Layer of Fear and, of course, Silent Hill. And they got to a point where they asked her about whether or not, like, how much of this they're going to change, whether or not they're going to keep, like, how are you going to go about recreating Silent Hill 2? And she said, and I quote, "We are focusing on bringing the distinct visceral atmosphere back in the modernized Silent Hill 2. Longtime fans shouldn't worry about us missing the point while we're livening up the title. We faithfully stick to the traditional story canon while remaking the gameplay and updating the graphics from the ground up. These are the reasons why Konami entrusted us with the remake in the first place. A big visible change is the adoption of an over-the-shoulder camera, which altered the perspective of a few iconic set pieces, but also meant an overhaul to the combat system. The latest technological achievements do wonder when it comes to making the visuals pop. As you see, we are not straying away from the original concept of making this cult classic, we just have some ideas on how to make the peculiar scare factors more appealing to the contemporary audience." So here's the thing, okay? Throughout the interview, she does this where she goes on about, we want to stay faithful to the original, and we have so much respect for it. But here's the thing. If you want to stay faithful, then why not just keep the original gameplay? You see, here's the thing. Whenever someone says modernizing, it usually means we're just going to copy what everyone else is doing. And honestly, I don't like the idea of adopting an over-the-shoulder camera, all right? Here's the thing, okay? Every survival horror game released over the last 15 years have ripped off 2 games. Resident Evil 4 and Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Either they're all over the shoulder or they're first person. And you know, we haven't had a traditional, static camera, tank control survival horror game in a long time, especially a major title that plays exactly like survival horror games did 20 years ago. And I think that by modernizing it and adopting an over-the-shoulder camera, it just kind of, I don't know, it just it feels like you're just making it like every other survival horror game, okay? There are games, independent games, that have continued doing the static camera tank controls of classic survival horror. And you know what? They do really well. So why not adopt something like that? Why not bring the series back to its roots? You know what I mean? Like you want a great example of what I'm talking about, okay? Look at, this is going to be a weird one, but look at Duke Nukem Forever. I remember when Duke Nukem Forever came out. It was a game myself, many others wanted to play, not just because of the long development time, but because we all love Duke Nukem 3D. It's an awesome shooter. And when Duke Forever came out, it was not good. Mostly because it adopted a lot of, it was modernized, I should say. They had recharging health and set pieces and all this kind of stuff, and it didn't feel like Duke Nukem. It felt like a copy, like someone trying to do Duke Nukem and just copy what other first-person shooters were doing at the time. And a lot of fans were like, why not just stick to the roots of Duke Nukem? Why not just do that? And the attitude from the developers was, well, we have to modernize it. We have to appeal to the modern warfare and Halo audience. And it was like, why? Why appeal to them? And then this is the kicker. A few years later, another game came out. This time, a revival of a classic first-person shooter that came back and not only adopted but fully embraced the roots of its franchise. And you know what I'm talking about? Doom 2016. That game felt like classic Doom. It had all of the aspects that made the original Doom fantastic. And you know what? It was so much better than Duke Forever. So much better. And because of that, because it adopted a gameplay style we haven't seen in a long time, it revitalized classic shooters, and now what we call boomer shooters. You have a whole bunch of games that are adopting that sort of gameplay style. So why can't Silent Hill do the exact same thing? Why can't it be play exactly as it did 20 years ago? Because Silent Hill 2 has aged beautifully, even gameplay-wise. It still plays really well. I just feel like they're missing out on something here, and I think if they had actually adopted the classic style of gameplay, it would have been a far better remake. So anyway, guys, I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
Atari presents its newest star.
Vanguard.
Just like the arcade, 6 zones.
Let me show him the mountain zone.
Hey, check it out. Get the energy pods.
So long, Harley Rocket.
Hey, the rainbow zone is my turf. You can shoot in 4 directions.
All right.
I'll just freeze to the strike zone. The wall. The wall. Yeah.
But fellas, who destroys the Gond?
Luther destroys the gods.
Vanguard is here, only from Atari.
All right, folks, and we're back. And first up in our last round of storage, we got to talk about MAGFest. Oh, yeah. You guys know exactly what I'm going to be talking about, but for those who don't know, MAGFest is a gaming music festival. It happens in the beginning of January. I've never actually been there, but recently, this past weekend, of course, it happened. It's always, I think, around the Washington, D.C. area, but I've never, like I said, I've never been there, so I'm not exactly sure where they hold this thing, but anyway, I know it's a big thing every year, and this year caused quite a controversy because, as you know, with usual conventions, they have directories telling you where everything is. And it appears a couple of game journos had an absolute bitch fit on Twitter about the directory this year because at the very bottom of it, it listed several things such as D&D and Pathfinder, and then at the very bottom it says Kotaku's journalistic integrity with a eyeglass with an X on it, and it says 404. As if not found. Now, this was in response to what happened last year, where Kotaku wrote this article attacking MAGFest for their COVID policies, even though MAGFest has pretty strict COVID policies, so I don't know what the fuck they were going on about. So MAGFest decided to take a little jab at them, and Kotaku had an absolute bitch fit about this. Not just Kotaku, but game journos in general had a bitch fit about this. Okay? Patrick Klepek, everyone's favorite little soy boy, put out, "Hey, this sucks. What's the deal, MAGFest?" And other gaming journalists basically went after them about this, saying that this is bringing up Gamergate for some fucking reason that I have no idea why, because this clearly has nothing to do with Gamergate, but because it's mentioned journalistic integrity, these fucking idiots decided to bring up Gamergate for no other reason. Of course, MAGFest had to cuck out about this entire thing. They responded to him saying, "Hey, MAGFest community, we've heard you loud and clear that a joke we printed on our signage this year absolutely did not land. Bullshit. For clarity, it was intended to poke fun at one line in an article written about our COVID response last year. It was immediately pulled from the floor. We understand that most people did not receive it as such, and that it was made people feel unsafe." Okay, question. How the fuck does a sign feel unsafe? In fact, can someone explain to me how exactly this makes you feel unsafe? What, is the sign gonna come after you with a fucking knife? It's so goddamn stupid. Like, holy shit. This was a huge oversight and a lack of awareness on our part. We're deeply sorry for our community and Kotaku for this era, and we will do better with our banter in the future. Oh, Jesus Christ. So it's the same old shit we hear a million times. We're sorry about this. This made you feel unsafe. No, bitch fit. Bitch ass, you don't do that. You tell them to fuck off, okay? Grow a goddamn pair and deal with it. Jesus fucking Christ. This is the thing that gets me, okay? This is like this is why Kotaku is a fucking laughingstock, because they can't take a joke. But more than that, they can't take criticism or scrutiny. They just can't. For whatever reason, they can be the most, they can be the biggest assholes in gaming. They can basically write the biggest hit pieces on people and treat others like absolute dog shit. But you make one fucking joke at their expense, and they cry like a little bitch about it. You know what this reminds me of? Back in 2013, when Dragon's Crown came out, Jason Schreier decided to pen an article for Kotaku complaining about the sorceress and the Amazon in the game, and basically saying that, oh, this is a 14-year-old boy's vision of what a woman looks like. And that's the thing. Basically calling George Kamitani, who's a fucking art god in my opinion, a 14-year-old boy for liking huge tits. Okay? So what did George Kamitani do? He basically drew a trio of dwarves that were completely nude and said that this was what this is more to Jason Schreier's liking. And what happened? Jason Schreier then wrote a fucking article on Kotaku having a bitch fit about it and saying how this is mean and this is nasty. How dare you do this? And it's like, bitch, you can't throw mud at other people and not expect to get mud thrown back at you. Alright? It's like that famous comic of the feminist flinging mud over the wall and then screaming misogyny when people start flinging mud back at them. You can't hurl insults and treat people like shit without being treated like shit yourself. You know what I mean? Shit like this is why no one takes gaming journalism seriously, especially Kotaku. This is why everyone hates them. Because they can treat others like shit. They can write all these nasty little hit pieces, but you make one little jab at them and they cry like little, they act like cry bullies. And they will continue acting like a bunch of cry bullies until MAGFest and the gaming industry puts their fucking foot down and tells these assholes to shut the fuck up. Anyway, let's move on to our next story. Alright, and our next story is somewhat a continuation of the previous one because it got started that way, but it's kind of devolved into its own thing. And that is, of course, Adam Sessler. Yeah. I'm sure many of you know about this because it's been going on like crazy. Still is right now. And Adam Sessler, for like the past 3 days, has been going on a tirade on Twitter about gamers and how much he hates gamers and how much he hates gaming and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of people are talking about it. They're shitting on him and all this kind of stuff. And I kind of want to talk about it because here's the thing. I'm somewhat like Adam Sessler is a part of me growing up as a gamer because I've been watching. I've been watching him since I was like 13, 12? God, it's been over 20 years. Okay. Back when he was the host of Extended Play on Tech TV. Because before there was X Play, there was Extended Play. And then before that, there was GameSpot TV. Which he was also the host of. He's been doing this since 1998. Okay. That's as far back as his career goes. And back then, he was never like this. I can guarantee you, 20 years ago, he was never like this. You can watch old episodes of X-Play and Extended Play, and you can see he was never like this. Yeah, even when he was in the mid-2000s, he had a dry, sarcastic humor, but he never hated gamers, and he never hated gaming. Okay? He would shit on bad games, but he would give glowing praise to great games. Okay? When he was on the Screensavers or Attack of the Show, he would go on and on talking about how much he loved video games. You could tell there was definitely a passion behind it. Okay? And I can tell you exactly when everything started to change. Okay? And it was around 2009. So back then, on the GeForce site, he had his own show called Sessler's Soapbox, and it was basically just him. It was a vlog. He would talk about video games and give his own opinions. It was very raw. It was uncensored. It was just him talking about video games. And it was through that show that he started to change. And it was something I noticed. And I'm not the only one. A lot of other people noticed it as well. He started having these weird opinions. Like, for example, I remember one episode he talked about 6 Days in Fallujah. I know you're thinking, wait a minute, that game that was announced like 2 years ago? Not the same one. Oh, well, the original version of it, because the one that's currently in development is like they're restarting. It's a restart of the development, because originally it was supposed to come out like in 2010, 2009, and it got canceled because of outrage. In fact, it's one of the few examples of right-wing cancel culture. Okay? And let me tell you, cancel culture, wrong on either side. Okay? I know I lean to the right politically, but even I have to admit that was fucking wrong. Okay? And he did a video on it, and he said something that kind of irked me a bit. And he was like, if games want to be taken seriously as art, then they have to stop being fun. And I'm just like, wait, what? Like, no. Games have to be fun. Like, who cares if they're taken seriously art or not? You know, that's like the kind of thing you say when you get like insulted by what's his name? Oh God, he died 10 years ago. Roger Ebert. Okay. That's what it came across to me as. Like he's he's trying to prove Roger Ebert wrong, which is like, who cares? Okay. And then there was another time where he just attacked gamers for negative comments left on reviews for some games. I remember he specifically attacked one person who was, I think, just shit posting and said like, oh, I wonder how much money they're getting from, I think it was like Sony or Microsoft. And his response was, do you fuck your mother at night? Do you? Don't impugn my integrity. Like, that's his response. And I was like, Jesus, dude, it's just a shit post. It's not even for you. He's like, the person who's writing that is only saying it to piss off the fanboys. That's all. Okay? Usually comments like that are done to piss off fanboys. But he just like took that personally, and it got worse and worse and worse as years went on. He got fired from XPlay and G4. He started, and his attitude got worse. Okay? Then he started getting more and more political. And then you get to 2014 when he starts outright advocating for doxing. Okay? And it's only going to get worse from here. It's only gotten worse, and it's only going to get worse. And last night last night I'm recording this, the night before I'm recording this, he blocked me. He's never blocked me before. And it was the most, like tame response he's ever gotten. Okay? It was something along the lines of, I think Adam Sessler needs to take a break from Twitter. Okay? That's all he said. He needs to take a break. He needs to calm down and just kind of, like, back away from it, because here's the thing. Twitter fucks with your head. Okay? It consumes you. When you're spending so much time on it, it consumes you, and it fucks with your head, and if you don't stop, it really kind of like drives you insane. I've been there with Facebook before, and I stopped. I walked away from it. I deleted my Facebook. Best decision I ever made. And I've had to do it with Twitter. I've had to log off. I've had to back off because it consumed you. And that's how I feel about Adam Sessler. So I just want to say this. I want to reiterate what I said on Twitter last night, which is I have no ill will or hatred for him. Okay? I don't hate Adam Sessler. I don't agree with him politically. I don't agree with his attitude, but I don't hate him, and I don't wish him any ill will. Okay? Let me break it down to you. Okay? I have very fond memories watching Extended Play and X-Play. And you know what? The Panzer Dragoon retrospective wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for his review of the game, of Panzer Dragoon Orta. It wouldn't. I saw that review in early 2003. If 20 years ago I saw that review, that's the game that made me want to buy an Xbox. And when I got an Xbox, that was one of the first games I played. And that's what opened me up to the franchise. That review is the reason why the retrospective exists. That's why I can't hate Adam Sessler. And it's why I wish him all the best. I wish he would just take a break from Twitter, log off, spend some time away from the internet, and just kind of back off. And I wish him all the best. I really do. I wish he would just log off and just take a break and take a vacation. Because this isn't good for anyone's mental health. Spending, 3-4 days arguing with people on Twitter? That's not good. It's just not good for him. And I hope people in his personal life, they kind of intervene and they kind of wake him up to what's going on, because this isn't healthy. This isn't good. And I don't want to see someone like that be consumed by his own hatred and by social media. So that's all I'm gonna say on it. It's hard for me. It really is hard for me, because again, this is someone who I always kind of looked up to. This is someone who I always liked, because he was likable. Watch the old episodes. I implore you guys, go and watch old episodes of GameSpot TV, Extended Play, and even X-Play. Okay, like early to mid 2000s. It's good stuff. You could definitely tell he had a passion there. Hell, go check out his debate with Jack Thompson from 2006. Okay? That's the Adam Sessler I remember. Not this guy. This is some old man who is insecure about his love of video games and is frustrated that the industry did not become the serious art that he wanted it to. So, I wish him all the best. I wish he would just get off of Twitter and relax for a bit. And with that being said, let's move on to our next story. Okay, and this next one I thought was actually really neat. So, recently, a Twitch streamer by the name of Miss Mikkaa did a playthrough of Elden Ring's hardest boss with 2 completely different copies of the game. So, basically, she's playing two different characters on 2 separate copies of the game at the same time. But here's the catch. One copy she played with the controller. The other one with the fucking Dance Dance Revolution dance pad. No, I am not making this up. She actually beat it with the fucking dance pad from DDR. Holy shit. Ladies and gentlemen, give her a round of applause. Holy shit, that's fucking amazing. Beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. It took her 3 days and 199 tries to actually do it, but she pulled through and actually pulled it off. That is so amazing. Like that, you know what? I've seen a lot of people play this game with different types of controllers. You know, I've seen people play it with the fucking DK bongo drums, all right? So, but to see someone literally fight Melania in 2 separate games at the same time, and one with the fucking DDR dance pad, that is wow. Just fucking wow. I am always impressed what people can do with this game. With Soulsborne games in general, they always try to find ways to beat it in the most just obscure, out of this just batshit insane way to do it. And this has got to be one of them. So, congratulations on Miss Mikkaa to actually pulling it off. That's incredible. I'm going to put a link to the tweet in the description. You can go watch the video. It's less than 2 minutes long, but it's pretty damn impressive. So, with that being said, I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
Hello, I'm Howard Scott Warshaw. I did Yar's Revenge, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and E.T. What did I do for video gaming? Yar's Revenge is one of the top games of all time. E.T. is the worst game of all time. Know your history. G4. It's TV for gamers.
Alright folks, and that's it for this week. I want to thank you all for listening. If you like any of the music in this week's episode, links are in the description. There is also a playlist called Single Player Radio, and it is music from past episodes, so I recommend you all go check that out. And with that being said, I'll see you all next week, and remember to keep gaming.